on today. This week, I'll be covering the dorsal sheath, which in common parlance is simply the fascia, which runs from actually the skull, right here at your forehead, and all the way over the top of the head, down the back of the neck, the upper, mid, lower back, and then sweeps under the legs, calves, Achilles, heels, and then right up into the soles of the feet. So that's the chain or the loop. And if I had a long enough cord to distribute for my stretch band, standing on the stretch band, then coming up the back line, I don't know if you can see the purple stretch band here, all the way up over the skull. So that's the cord or the fascial chain of the back body. And it supports us, helps support us in lifting up against gravity. It also gets very tight. So many people can't do forward folds and touch their toes after a time. Or if we were to just sit, as I did moments ago, and try a simple forward fold from a seated position, you could gauge a little bit how tight your dorsal sheath is. And you can see, or maybe feel, more importantly, which section of this chain. Is it your low back that right away protests, back of the knees, the calves, and as you pull your toes back toward you, how are the calf muscles? Okay, so one of the first postures I want to recommend as a daily dozen is simply something you see people in other countries than the US doing repeatedly during the day, and that is a squat, sitting on their haunches. So some people, this is difficult, and you could use your towel roll or just a section of towel to see if you can get that under the heels and to sit down. If this is too hard for you to do, soon we'll be on our backs doing something very similar. And what is this doing? As I give the preamble to the dorsal sheath, you can sit in your malasana and notice your toes and your feet, and how much they resemble or turn outward like a duck versus come to parallel. And you don't need to do anything at first with your upper body other than just hang out on your knees with your forearms or your straight arms. And this is going to address the low back area, which is the sticky wicket for most people. So I'm dropping my tailbone down, and I'm not addressing the backs of the legs so much, although I get a little bit of Achilles stretch here. And then from here, as our preamble, we're going to start to lift our legs up toward straight, maybe not entirely straight just yet, and take a experimental forward fold, either with the fingertips on the ground, holding opposite elbows. Again, checking out the feet, and as much as you can, setting them to parallel and hip width. Now some people, because of their bodies, because of their pelvis, their hips, they've got to go a little wider. So their malasana looks more froggy, so to speak. The knees are wider, the toes are turned out, and that's the way that works. And then we're just going to go back and forth between squat or a couple breaths, forward fold. So if you've been up since 5 a.m. anticipating class, you've gone for your 10-mile run or row, inhale once in Malasana, exhale in Uttanasana. And you just come up and down like a vinyasa dorsal sheath. Or a little more conservatively, just a few more times, a couple of breaths each. What if your knees are not so adept as they once were, and you're looking at this saying, that doesn't work for me? Well, then you could just take some sort of a prop like a chair in an extreme version, or something a little bit lower, like a yoga block under your seat, right about here, and that's your squat. And you don't go all the way down with your knees. You just bend your knees a bit, and then you fold. So be respectful of your body and its particulars. Having warmed up the back body, let's come into our Sukhasana, crossing the shins, and just do a couple of rounds of Pranayama. And this will be particularly useful, and welcome, Jeannie, the new student today. The Pranayama that we've been doing for the past, 6 months, focuses on the back ribs. So you can take your hands, the backs into the back ribs, and just begin to inhale and exhale, feeling the flaring out of those lower back ribs like a pair of angel wings. So you get the idea and the sensation before placing the hands on the knees. And we're going to go 20 breaths, hold, hold. Here we go, inhale and exhale. Letting the diaphragm expand all the way around the circumference of the rib cage, like a master cylinder. Inhale, exhale. By all means, open your mouth. Make a soft, little sound, like fogging up a mirror. And just filling even more capacity of the lungs. This simple exercise, filling the back ribs, the fascia, begins to get stimulated and more elastic. Five more. Fill, exhale, release. One more. Exhale. And pause. And if you're new, you can place a hand on your diaphragm. Relax this area of the solar plexus. Soften your tongue. Soften your jaw. Those that have been practicing the holds can stay as long as you like. But as soon as you feel any nerviness, any tension, any anticipatory contraction of the diaphragm, saying, I need to breathe, don't fight it, just inhale. And then hold that about 10 seconds, that inhalation. And that inhale has lengthened the upper spine now. And it allows you to sit tall with the buoyancy of the breath. Exhale, release. Here we place the hands forward, and we have a forward fold. Some of you, of course, can go all the way down to the ground. Others, not a chance. So you take your trusty chair if you want, and you place your forearms on the top of the chair, place your forehead on the forearms. And breathe your intention, breathe your awareness into the dorsal sheath, the back body, the back rib cage, as if you were a frog respirating through the skin in the back. Really important to use your breath as a way of creating awareness. And let's come up wherever you are, cross your legs in the opposite pattern at the shins. And here we go again. Inhale, exhale. Working at your own rhythm without any catch points in the breath cycle, with a minimized tension in the throat, the jaw. Remembering that you don't breathe using your mouth, you breathe using your diaphragm. The air just comes in the mouth and the nose. So any tension around the neck and the throat is reduced by sitting in a way that's comfortable. If necessary, lying down to do this. Deepening the breath, deepening the opening of the umbrella-like diaphragm. Feeling its actions in the back ribs. One more inhale. One more release, exhale. Soften your throat, abdomen, feel the sitting bones, and pause. If you're not used to holding your breath, again, you can place your hand, one hand in your solar plexus, and the other hand, if you have tension in your throat frequently, you're just going to do this simple brushing motion from the base of the throat down to the heart, which is almost like a peristalsis, as if you had swallowed something and your esophagus was just digesting. Some of you can stay here for over a minute, but don't struggle. When you need to inhale, you do. That mere inhalation fills the lungs and lifts the dorsal sheath, the back body up, as if you're a giant Macy's Day balloon floating with buoyancy, and you're holding that for about 10 seconds. Exhale, release, forward fold. If you're deep in a Sukhasana forward fold, remember to dorsiflex or plantar flex the feet, toes toward one another like the Wicked Witch of the West, and dive in. Don't strain the low back by going so far that it's difficult to breathe into that area, but distribute your breath in the entire back body, awakening it with your breath, with your intelligence. And then crawling back to an upright position. And we're going to do the final one on our backs, but before we do, we'll just take a slight rotation over to one side. We can use the opposite hand, opposite knee, a mild twist, for the sake of breathing into the back ribs, dorsal sheath, on the side you're reaching toward the opposite knee with. So I'm going to my left, right hand to the left knee, and I'm breathing, feeling the breath more in my right rib cage. Why is a twist important for the dorsal sheath? Because it allows us to feel the two sides, and then we go to the other side. Keeping our hips square nonetheless, breathing into this. For me, the left side now, as the left arm grabs the right knee, lifting up against my binds. Very good. Now we're going to go on to our backs, and if you don't have one, see if you can grab a towel roll, and you can choose how roly-poly or how thick the diameter of the towel roll is. But at first, all we're going to do is use the towel roll under our base of our head, our neck, as a little pillow, so that the position of the head is nice and the back of the neck is long. Chin comes toward the chest into what's known as a Jalandhara Bandha, like a swan's neck. And make it comfortable. If you have a neck issue, then find a spot where the cervical arch is supported. And if straightening your legs along the mat is not comfortable, bend your knees. Here we go for round 3. Inhale, exhale, 20 breaths. Now here, as I begin to breathe rhythmically, I can feel the back ribs touching, expanding into the mat from the bottom to the top, and see how successful you can feel that back body contact with the floor. Legs are relaxed. Maybe you can feel the inhales traveling all the way up to the back of the skull. Five more. One more. Exhale, release. Pause. Maybe take the hands to those 2 spots I mentioned. And sit in stasis. Relaxing not only the breath, but that back line of the body which is in contact with the floor. Let it melt into the floor. When you need to inhale, you do. Filling the sails of the upper rib cage, the shoulders are automatically parted, collarbones opened. And then exhale, release. Now we'll remove the towel roll from the base of the head, unless you're feeling good about that. And we're going to take it and lift the hips up to set it under the sacrum, the low back area. And then we're going to pull our knees, both of them, into our hands gently to come into the same pose I started class with, which is the squat. Malasana, but now we're lying on our backs. As we do this back work, try not to look around with your head as we start to pull the knees in toward the body. You don't want to disturb your neck by turning it to the side, so you can see what I'm doing. It's very simple. And I can hold my knees, I can bind them with my forearms, and I'm just breathing into this dorsal sheath once again. I'm going to release the feet down to the ground, place the hands just floating off the hips, the backs of the knuckles. Inhale, roll the shoulders back, and exhale, lift the hips up for bridge pose. And here, tightening up the dorsal sheath, the backs of the legs, tailbone sliding away, the paraspinals in slight contraction. Exhale, place the low back down, hug the knees again. And we'll do this a few times at your leisure. Place the feet down, place the backs, the knuckles down. Inhale, you come up. Think of straightening and lengthening the spine as the hips lift. The knees track away from you. Chin notching in toward the chest. Exhale, set the low back down and draw the knees in. Just a little movement of strengthening and lengthening the dorsal sheath. Very simple. One more round. And the next time you go up to bridge pose, you're going to remove your towel so that you lay your hips down on the ground without towel roll. Let your arms reach straight out from the shoulders like a pair of wings. Inhale. And exhale, just drop your knees. Start to drop the lower to the left, keeping your feet planted like you're skiing on your back. Inhale to center your knees, keeping the feet widely spaced and planted on the ground. Knees drop to the right. And we just go back and forth like windshield wipers. Once again, taking a mild twist for the sake of feeling each individual side of the back body. And now we'll come back to center. We'll pull the knees into the hands without the towel roll. And you have two options to come up to seated. You could simply set the feet down, roll off to one side, and come up. Or hook your fingers in your knee creases. Inhale, pull the knees toward you. And exhale, tucking your chin, launch yourself up toward boat pose. So if I roll on my spine, again, keeping my Jalandhara Bandha, my chin tucked to my chest, I can get a free massage of the dorsal sheath. Then I can go down the right side and go down the left side. And then I can come up to seated, and now you can take a peek again. So we're going to go back down, and for this you'll need a strap, or you can simply open your towel roll if you're a low-tech person, and use your towel roll as a means when we go down onto our backs to stretch and lengthen one leg. So before we go down onto our backs, just to show any new people or returnees, all we're going to be doing is it's called Ekapada Shirshasana, and that's a fancy name for one Eka, foot to Shirsha, head. So trying to take the leg to the head, head to the leg. And what we're going to do is just bend the knee, inhale, and exhale, straighten. Okay? So choose your tool of choice. And if you need the towel roll under your head, take that, be comfortable. Here we go. We're going to go down onto our back. And you could use a bungee to do this, by the way, a stretch band, or just a regular strap. We'll take the right leg up, and the left leg is extended along the mat. If you find, even in this, say, 90-degree angle bifurcation of the legs, that your low back is not very comfortable, it's not very symmetrical, then bend your left knee. So pull your left foot toward you, bend your left knee, and work here. If not, keep an extension. And inhale, now we're going to pull on the straps, one in each hand, to bend the right knee, and then straighten, exhale to the right knee. Inhale, bend, right knee comes toward right shoulder, exhale, straighten. And this is dynamic. And those that were here last week realize that the lats, as the arms pull, are getting some work. So the lateral channel that we worked on last week is assisting the dorsal sheath stretch of the back leg. You're going to take both feet into the strap now. You've got both legs extended. And hold as high up the strap as you can now. Sneak your arms way up long. And here's your forward fold on your back. Then you can slide the right foot down. So we do the other side. Extend it along the floor. Inhale, bend the left knee. Exhale, straighten the left leg. And do that about 10 times while I grab some water. And as you push into that strap, remember to feel the entirety of the hamstring, calf, right down to the Achilles, the sole of the foot. The toes are pulled back toward you. And then we go back up with both feet into the strap again. If you need to bend your knees, that's fine. And you hike your hands all the way as long as they can. Straighten the arms, and then you engage the leg muscles. So to stretch the dorsal sheath, the backs of the legs, we engage the fronts of the legs, the quadriceps, and the anterior tibialis along the shin bones, or opening the toes, pulling the toes back toward you to feel those calves also get a stretch. So let's drop our left foot down on the strap again, and a little trick. So get the right leg up to the sky, and we're going to take our left hand, got our right leg up, our left arm is extended, and grab both strap ends, and push the right leg forward, away from us, even as we restrain it. Its ability to go forward by pulling back gently with the left hand. Now you should feel this whole back chain of the right leg. One more inhale. Now we're going to just slowly, keeping that dynamic action, push me, pull you, move that right leg over slightly to the left, crossing the midline, and not very far. And now we're starting to get into the fascia where the side of the leg, the right side of the right leg, and the back of the leg merge, which is a very sticky fascia. Inhale to center, exhale, back to the left. And maybe you can feel that. It's where the body workers like to roll out your IT band fascia. Okay, so let's switch both legs up in the strap end again. Brief symmetry, toning the leg muscles, and then we drop the right leg out. So the left leg is kicked up to the sky, and we take our right hand and reach across, grabbing both strap ends, and now get dynamic. If you can't feel the stretch in the back of the leg, grab the back of the leg, grab the belly, the hamstring with your free hand, your left hand, and push into that hand. Don't overdo. Inhale and exhale, move that left leg slightly to the right. So for me, this is super tight, and it's the lateral edge of the dorsal sheath, lateral edge of my hamstring in the back of my leg. Remember, it's hamstrings or multiple muscles in the backs of the leg. So this is catching the very sticky fascia in the outer left leg. Okay, so let's go ahead and take both legs up one last time and push both legs away from us. And then you can release, if you're a beginner, release the strap, grab your knees, roll up to seated again. If you're more advanced and you want to try a movement into Navasana with your strap around your feet, inhale, pull the feet back toward you a little bit, and exhale, bend your knees, push up, and take your Navasana. So even if you didn't or weren't able to do that, now you can try it, and we'll bend the knees, take our strap or towel under our feet, and reaching our hands as close to the feet as we can, lean back, lift up, and maybe you get the feet to hover an inch, maybe you can straighten the legs, and as if you're water skiing. So now this is a dynamic engagement of the dorsal sheath. Stay here for about 45 minutes. Just kidding. And then come down. So let's stand up now and see what we can do in standing postures. The first thing I want you to do, and Mondays we generally go pretty slow, just so that everybody's okay, is to get a chair or get a wall or both. And don't take a chair that's going to be too harsh for your foot. So this is kind of an antique chair, but it's got a hard back edge, so I'm going to just throw a towel over the back of it. Because what I'm going to do, ideally, is to step up on that chair with my right foot and then put the whole right leg so that the heel just draped over the back of the chair. Now, if you're watching this saying, Dan, I can't do this, I'm going to fall over. Well, you could just take your hands to the wall like this, to the top of the chair like this, and bend the front knee as we did on our backs. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, bend the knee, come in toward the wall, and exhale, straighten. Or, that's just still too much, and you come down to the top, the seat top, and you straighten your leg. And so that you would be bending your knee on the seat top and then straightening like this. Okay? So those are the options. Now, the best option for those advanced folks is to take your strap around your right leg just as we did on our backs moments ago. We walk our hands up that strap, we lean back, and we're going to push our leg down into the chair. Push the right hip down. So it's a dynamic stretch. Now, if you can, and I'm giving you different options, I'm going to take that left hand across just as I did on the back. Right leg is pushing down with the left hand on the strap ends. I'm going to take a little turn just to peek to my right, and I'm going to make sure my right hip is pushing down too. And here you'll feel this whole lateral dorsal sheath, sticky sheath right in here. So dynamic. Of course, if you were a superstar, you're the superstar, you wouldn't need a chair at all. You just float off the wall like that. But most people that do that start to hike up their right hip like this and cheat. So having something to push against keeps you honest. Okay? Stay there as long as you like. If any of these things really resonate with you, spend more time. Step up with the left foot. Stand your left leg on the chair. Use the wall if you need to for balance, or your chair. Bend your knee as much as you need to. And you can bend and straighten. Inhale and exhale. Just prime the pump, so to speak. Taking the degree of challenge that befits your body. But if you can, eventually, I'm getting the strap around my left leg. I'm leaning back like a water skier. I'm toning the legs. And I'm pushing firmly into the ground and down into the chair. Not pushing so much that my breath is frozen, but just finding an engagement within my body, which lets me know that I still have a body and that I need to strengthen it. And then breathing into that. Right hand grabs both strap ends, left hand to hip. A little rotation to the left. Breathe. This is a static stretch. Again, show-offs. You can try to lift your heel away from the wall or your entire leg. But it's not really giving you that much more bang for your buck. Okay, so that's that, and that's a daily dozen. That's something you should do every day, even if you're just doing a mild version of that. Let's come away from the wall a little bit, and some of you who are new or less flexible will still employ your chair at the front of your mat now. So as we start to get into forward folds, we'll be a little bit judicious about how we do them. How do you know if you're going to need the chair or not? Come to your Tadasana, reach your arms up, inhale, exhale, forward fold.
Now, if your hands get to the ground, your palms, and your legs are relatively straight, you don't need the chair. Or if you're a total show-off and you can touch your forehead and your shins, you don't need the chair. Coming up, we'll take chair pose, bend the knees, bring your arms up.
But if you're a modest yogini, and you do your forward fold and you're about here,
and you don't get to the floor, you barely touch,
then I'd love for you to use the chair. Okay? So those that can touch the floor, fine. Those that need a chair, you're going to have your top of your chair, you're facing away from your seat at the front of the mat. And then we reach up, inhale, and we exhale.
Now if you have the chair, you place your hands on the chair like so, and back goes the left foot.
And you're going to bend into your front knee, inhale, and exhale, straighten the front leg. So all we're doing is repeating similar motions in different planes of travel. This is kind of nice to have the hands on the chair because it gives you some thoracic strength. But again, if you were the advanced person and get the fingertips to the floor or yoga blocks, then your motion looks like this. Inhale, exhale. And then you pause. And we did this last week. And you take your deepest forward fold, pushing the feet away from one another, and really paying attention to the back of the front leg, the right leg. If there's any pinching around your sitting bone, your butt bone, back off, because that's an injury you want to avoid. Again, working chair, working floor. We're going to do that slight rotation to the right that we did on the wall. When we walk back to center and step the back foot to the front foot, inhale and exhale, forward fold. So if you're working on the chair, pretty nice to just put the top of your head where your dorsal sheath starts. Put your head on your chair. If you're very flexible, you can go beyond the chair. And then coming up through Tadasana chair pose, exhale, standing. Other side. Arms by the sides, hone the legs in the manner we learned last week. Inhale, reach high, exhale, fold. Either hands to chair or floor. Now we're going to step the right foot back, a mild stance, and start to bend into your front knee, your left knee. Look forward, inhale, and exhale, straighten, front leg, fold over it. Inhale, bend, look up, exhale, and use your breath to move your body. Again, if you're super flexible, you can work fingertips to ground. But it is your morning body, so be respectful. And then find your best case scenario with your legs straightened, and then you're just going to twist left. Moving the right hip forward, left hip back, torso, the chest, the gaze, peaks left. And I just get a little bit of that lateral sheath involved in the dorsal sheath. Not much. Come back to center, step your right foot to your left, forward fold. Bend your knees, coming up through Utkatasana, and then standing. Okay, so let's take this a little bit further, and just to show you, for the advanced folks, a deeper version of this pose, coming to standing, inhale, reach high, exhale, fold, and if you can't get your hands to the floor, take your hands to your knees. We're going to step our left foot back, come to warrior one. And then bring your hands to your hips. And straighten your front leg. Bend, inhale, and exhale, straighten. So now we're testing our balance, we're testing the tone of our legs. And for those that have the advanced practice, you can begin to fold forward over the front leg. Those that don't, you're going to stay happy, bending, straightening like this. Finally, the super advanced all bud company Go post your arms. Maybe sit your hands at your back body like so. Buckling your hands and start to fold over the front leg with bound hands. And this is a multi-level class, so that's why I offer the different options. Let's try the other side, feet together. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. If you can't get to the ground, you can place your hands on your knees. Back to back, warrior one. Back to 30 degrees, remember. Back leg toning as the lengthened leg. And then exhale, straighten the front leg, hands to hips, squaring off. Beginners, inhale, come down, bend front knee and straighten. Even just staying upright and toning dynamically is valuable. But if you can, then you're going to try some manner of forward fold. Maybe it's mild. Maybe it's the full goal post, 2 arms stitching, and you can safely come down and up. That's for a few people in the group. A T forward fold over the front leg. Feet together, arms release. Okay? So let's explore downward dog now, which is the classic way to feel the entire dorsal sheath. And the beginners, you know how to do the chair dog. You just take your hands to the tops of your chair, step your feet back, bend both knees like ski jumper. Exhale, create a right angle as you straighten your legs and drop your head within your arms. Pressing your palms down into the chair in the same way we pressed our legs. So in a way, this is a similar operation to where we started class, where I had you in squat here, and then I had you do forward fold. But instead of a full forward fold, we have a half forward fold that we call downward dog. And we feel from the backs of the legs, low back, upper back, the opening with strength. The value of the chair dog pose is that it doesn't destroy your shoulders. And now let's go ahead and come to the back of our mat and go back to that Navasana pose that I proposed. And we're going to do what's called, or one of my teachers would call frog dog. So it's Malasana meets Adho Mukha Svanasana, which is downward dog. Watch first. I'm going to see if I can have a frog lower body and then stretch my arms forward. Inhale here. Exhale, I lift the legs to downward dog. Inhale, the toes go out like a frog. I sit down like I'm about to leap forward. Exhale, I straighten my legs, rolling the toes parallel. Could you do this whole operation on your chair? Of course you can. So you're just using the top of your chair seat as a prop. Squat and chair dog. Squat and chair dog. And repeat that, about 5 to 10 times. Okay, so that should be opening up pretty nicely the dorsal sheath. And now we'll
go ahead and, from downward dog, walk the feet to the hands, or chair dog. Take our forward fold once again. Come up through chair pose with the knees back and stand. Now getting into some classic forward folds. So Padangustasana is a way of deepening your forward fold by using a little bit of the lateral muscle chain in the arms in the manner we were doing on our backs. Remember, we have a one-legged push me, pull you operation going like so. And our lats pulling in allow us to stretch a little bit more dynamically the back of the leg. So we're going to be doing this with both legs in forward fold. So here's how it looks. I get my strap around the feet, hip width distance. I inhale, lengthen, I exhale, fold, and walk my hands down to the strap, bend the knees, and lengthen to a flat back, pulling against the strap, and then drop in and pillow the elbows apart. The gaze is down past the heels. To come out, you bend the knees, release your strap, and stand. The full Padangustasana, of course, for those that can do it, who have fairly extreme flexibility in the legs. You don't use a strap, you just hook your first two fingers around your big toes, flat back and fold, with the same opening of the lats, the elbows. Same coming up and bending the knees. The next one, Padahastasana. We're going to slide the hands under the feet, like that. So watch first if you're reviewing. I just bend my knees. I'm going to come down and slide one hand under one foot, the other hand under the other foot. I'm in a half squat. I inhale to a flat back. And then I just drop the upper body down as I straighten the legs. If you have issues with balance, this is not a good idea. This one. Bend your knees, slide your hands out, come up through chair pose, and stand. That last one, if you do have balance issues, I've shown many times in the past my favorite forward fold, standing forward fold, which is to lay your back into a wall. This is if you're fairly deep in the pose. If you're not, the ones that we did on our back and the ones that we'll do on our backs in a moment are the way to go. But here's the wall stretch to finish off our standing forward fold. You face your wall, you're about 2 feet from it, and then your knees, drop your head, and just sashay, where you walk your feet back into the wall, lean your back into the wall. The knees are bent to start with, and you just breathe your back body into the wall. You breathe your back rib breathing right up to the back of the skull, and progressively deepen, being careful how much of your back can contact the wall. Be really respectful of, again, this area of the sitting bones where the handies attach. Don't force the legs to be straight. So you have to be able to relax into a posture like this over several breaths. To get out, you walk your feet away from the wall, turn your toes out and sit down into Malasana where we started class. And now we're going to do our final seated poses. Starting with a classic Paschimottanasana, where the legs are straightened. And we finished with this last week, where I showed my famous Michael Jackson moonwalk. I'm not going to do that again. Probably all over YouTube by now. But I will say that if you are not a deep forward folder, now I'm going to simply sit on a towel or something to elevate me. And I can take my strap around both feet, hold the reins of the strap, lean back, and have a dynamic stretch of the backs of the legs, pulling the toes back, feel the calves, feel the evenness of the inner and outer edges of the feet, the inner and outer knee, the inner and outer hip. And if I want to go a little further, progressively migrating. The question always arises, has arisen before, what to do if you're inflexible with bent knees. Can you bend your knees? For example, the towel roll under the bent knees can be a lifesaver. But if you do bend your knees and you have the towel roll underneath them, push the backs of your knees down into your towel roll. And that will protect your low back and your insertion of your hamstring from getting overstretched. Okay? So you can always use the towel roll under your knee. In this case, we'll take our asymmetrical forward fold known as Janu Shirshasana. And the left foot will be on the inseam of the right leg. Get your strap, if you need it, around the front foot. Lift against your bind, inhale, exhale, travel forward to your degree. Some of you don't need the strap. You can just clasp the inner and outer edge of the front foot. Lift against your bind. Inhale and exhale. Elbows peel open. And the name of the pose is Made Manifest, head to knee. Okay, let's switch legs now, and left leg forward, right foot back. And once again, most people would be better served with a strap and just lengthening out of that left hip, left knee, left foot, leaning back. Inhale and exhale, just testing it out. Where does the stretch feel most prevalent in your dorsal sheath? That's where you have to calmly breathe into, calmly abide in that tightness. And it's not really a wall that you need to break through. It's just an aspect of your body that you need to be aware of. Maybe it's protecting you. So taking that to your deepest, some people don't need the strap. And then you come up. Okay, so that's about all we have time for today, but I'll show you the final exit plan through cloud pose. And those that are experienced can simply roll back to plow. I don't want you to look at the screen when you do this with your head, please. But get away from the wall if you're near it. And the experienced folks have now been prepped enough that they can roll back. into their full plow pose. You know who you are, and I'm trusting you to be honest. The rest of us, we don't feel like doing that. We'll do our patented modified approach, laying on the back, towel roll, in supported bridge, and getting pretty close to the wall. So watch first if you're new to this. Pulling our knees into the body, as we did earlier. The towel roll under the low back, and then launching the feet toward the wall. So be close enough. And here's your plow pose with the towel roll. You can stay there as long as you like, or let the feet drift away from the wall up to the sky, Viparita Karani, arms out to the sides. The towel roll nestled nicely in the small of the back, restoring the lumbar arch. Relaxing the throat, the shoulders. Eventually, carefully dropping the feet down and removing the towel roll to roll over to one side. Taking a breath on the side body, and then coming up to close off class. So that's it for today. And on Wednesday, we'll add some strengthening actions. So bring your stretch bands or 5-pound, 2-pound